Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Khari Show. This is the very first episode. We got a special guest in line, Greg Maneikis. What's up, brother? We go way back. Welcome to the show.
I'm so honored to be the first guest, bro. I know you've come on the Green with Envy pod. You and I have just had many a conversation throughout the years, just catching up on the phone. We've been talking about real shit for some time. So I'm excited to be the first guest, man. I really am. It's an honor.
So you got this is your time for the plug, bro. You got to tell me everything you've been doing about Green with Envy. Break it down for everybody. What is it? What do you love about the show? What's been successful?
I love it. I love it. Green with Envy. So it started during quarantine, like most niche podcasts started. And I was listening to the John Corrales pod. And I heard him breaking down one of the Celtics games. And I like John Corrales. He's cool and all. So I was like, I feel like I could do it better than this dude, honestly. So I just recorded a couple episodes for myself, just kind of speaking out into the ether. And I didn't put them out. I just recorded them and listened to them. And they sounded very similar to what John Corrales was doing, right? Because he was like the first person. I was like, all right, this is maybe a competitor in the future. So I'm just gonna try it out. Right. And then I actually put some on wax and put them out there. I had you come on one of the first pods for Green with Envy. I think back then it was just Celtics noise.
Yeah.
And over time, I started getting a lot of people reach out to me, tell me they were listening to it. And then I brought my boy Will on, who's been my best friend since we were 2 years old. And he has a lot of experience in broadcasting and media. Like when he was at Bridgewater State, he was their sports center guy doing top highlights. And, he was a color commentator in some of the games. So he just brought a whole nother level of kind of professionalism and know-how to the pod. And since then, I don't know, can we break news right now, Khari? Do you want to break some news?
Let's do it. I live for breaking news, boy.
Let's go. So about maybe 6 weeks ago, we got DM'd by this podcast network called Crowworthy. They're based out of Massachusetts, but they have pods all around the country. Most of their pods are called like the area code of the main city. So like if you live in the 512 is where Austin, Texas is, they would have a 512 pod. So they initially reached out to us and let us know that they were digging what we were doing with Green with Envy, and if we would consider coming and joining their podcast network. So they actually hired the guy who runs Boston Diehards, the Twitter account, with like 135,000 followers.
Yeah, follow them.
This young kid, man. They hired him to do the 617 pod. And we just got the contract sent over to us today. So we're officially going to become part of Crowworthy. And Green with Envy is going to be coming under the... we have not signed officially yet, but we're gonna sign. Okay. We're gonna sign.
I love it.
So we're actually part of something new. So we're gonna be Green with Envy is gonna be moving under the 617 pod feed, kind of like how the Ringer does the Ringer NBA show, and they have like 3 different shows throughout the week. So that's what we're gonna be doing, man. We're gonna Green with Envy stepping up. We're gonna be getting paid for the podcast.
Man,
it's crazy, man. And it just started as me just being like, I could do it better than that dude. And we're making small moves, so it's super exciting, man.
Now, how long have you been in the podcast game? Because I know a lot of people, they just start out and there's a lot of bumps and bruises that people don't talk about. So like, how long have you been in? And was it all smooth sailing, or was there some rough patches? Like, I don't know if I'm gonna do this anymore.
Honestly, man, I've always just loved talking ball. I mean, you know me, I've been a coach since I was a kid. Right. Like I coached you when I was 18 years old.
Right.
So I just love talking basketball. So for me, I already do it. And I was like, all right, like people always come to me for basketball takes anyway, and just like ask my coach's point of view about some stuff. And I'm not saying I'm the most knowledgeable dude, but I have opinions. So if you want to hear my opinions, I'll tell you. And honestly, man, it's one of those things, right? With music, and we talk about my music journey, I've hit. We want to talk bumps in the road, like we talk about music. With podcasting, though, it's really been smooth, man. Like I just been having fun. I don't pay attention to statistics. Like with music, I'm like, man, like only this many people watch my video. Like, God damn it. With podcasts, I don't look at the stats. Will looks at all the stats. I tell him, don't tell me anything. He actually, I'm not going to put it on wax how many listens we get. But in the meeting we had with Crowworthy recently, they asked us, they're like, hey, we're already on board with y'all. It doesn't matter how many listens you get per episode. Just tell us. And Will told me the number, and I was like, okay, like that's roughly what I expected.
Yeah.
So it's just been fun. It hasn't been hard. I think the hardest part is, it was my pod, right?
Right.
I was the first voice on the pod, and I was the host of the pod and all that. And when Will came on, he's just better at it. He's better at hosting. It's more natural for him. He kind of plays like the Chris Vernon to Kevin O'Connor. Like I'm more of the Kevin O'Connor type. He's more the Chris Vernon type. And it's just kind of just working off each other and working the right chemistry. So I'd say that's been the hardest part, is just letting go of the ego and doing what's best for the show. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But once I did it, I was like, that was the right decision, and I'm happy I did it.
Word. So switching gears, bro, like you mentioned that you coached me when you were 18, man.
I did.
So I was a seventh grader when you were a senior in high school, man.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the folks about your basketball background and just your love for the game.
For sure. I mean, my parents would tell you, when I was a little kid and we would watch we watched the Celtics. I was born in '89. So it was like right at the end of the Larry Bird era. And I don't really remember watching Larry Bird. Like the first real memories of Celtics players I have are like Pod Day, Dino Raja. Like
Right.
those are the first people that really stand out to me. Dana Barros was my childhood idol, which is why I went to BC.
Yeah.
But my parents would tell you, when I was a kid, every single basket the Celtics scored, I would like act like we won the championship. I would run, like literally, do imagine this, bro, from like point number 2 to point number 80. I was running around the around the living room excited every time they made a basket.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Young Greg, a little too excited.
Right. And think back then, like that's the worst time to be a Celtics fan. So, my parents probably watching the game like, this team sucks, and I'm running around like a maniac. So,
Yeah.
and then, I mean, I was, back then I was a 3-sport athlete, man. I didn't take basketball as seriously as I think I should have, but I was good. I played ball at Boston Latin, where we both graduated
Right.
from. I made a team as a sophomore. It was great because my older brother was the starting point guard when I was a sophomore. He was a senior, and I stole the starting backcourt job probably like game number 3. I don't want to put anybody's name on wax, but the starting shooting guard was just like, he came into the season out of shape. He was a knockdown shooter, and his shot wasn't really falling. He wasn't playing great defense, and I was just so excited to be on the court. And I was so excited to be playing with my brother. I was pure defense. Like I maybe scored like 20 points my sophomore year because we had a 6'4" center that was 1,000-point scorer. So I was just so excited to be on the court playing with my brother. And he told me, like, you have to guard that guy. We're gonna lock them down the whole length of the court.
Right.
And it was just fun, man. And I just loved playing ball. I loved competing. And then when I went to college, I went to Boston College. I had offers to play like some D2 schools and stuff like that. Like the Rochester College in New York was like really trying to get at me hard. But I really wanted to try BC, but I was more of a baseball guy. So I actually went to BC to try to walk onto the baseball team. And my freshman year of college, I had shoulder surgery on a torn labrum and a messed up rotator cuff. So the baseball dream kind of went out the door.
Right.
I just like lost all my arm strength. And then at BC, McAlvin. So McAlvin was trying to try out for the BC basketball team, and he and I were co-captains at Latin school. So I would just work out with Calv, and I was just trying to like push him to make the basketball team because I just wanted him to do it because I knew he really wanted to do it. And then the more we were working out together, I was like, okay, this is kind of turning into a little bit of competition. Who's going to make the team, me or him?
Right.
But at the end of the day, like sophomore year, because I consider myself a good person, I didn't even go to the tryouts or anything like that. Like Calvo, that was Calvo's thing. So he had all the gear. He was like working out with the guys and all the time. But in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, I could probably do this. I could definitely make the team. And I haven't talked about this next part on wax in a while, so I might get a little emotional here. Right. But my junior year, I went all in. I forget. I think it may have been Al Skinner's last year. I think it was because Donahue took over my senior year. I'm pretty sure it was Al Skinner. And I was like, I'm going to make the team. So I dedicated my summer to working out. I had the key to the practice gym. One of the coaches liked me because I'm half Lithuanian. So he was like, "Oh, Lithuanian, you can probably shoot." So he just let me come in. Right. So he just lets me come in and work out. And every time I would go to work out, Reggie Jackson, who's in the NBA now, would be on the other side of the court.
Yeah.
And he'd be putting in work, man. And I was too nervous to go up to him and be like, "Hey, let's work out together. Hey, let's play one-on-one." I was actually thinking about this earlier today, and I regret that big time. Although I never played against him one-on-one. I would literally watch what he was doing on the other side of the court, and then I would just try and do the same. And I would just like work out whatever he was working out. And I got pretty good, man, just by watching Reggie. Way different level athlete, obviously, as he's had a 10-year NBA career. But the more that I was working out, I was like, I'm gonna make this team. I'm gonna make this team. I'm gonna make this team. I stopped drinking. I stopped doing any recreational activities I shouldn't have been doing because I really wanted to make the squad.
Yeah, straight edge.
And straight edge, man. And I was probably down to like 155, but like fighting weight. Like I was ripped. I was dunking the ball, like I was hooping that year. And then my boys, like right before they were about to pick the team, I remember it was me and this kid, Pete Rehnquist, and they were choosing between the two of us who's going to be on the team. And Reggie told me, he was like, "Hey, like during this time, like don't be messing around. Like you got to be ready on call because at any moment we could call you down to the gym." And I was like, "Okay, I got you." But then my boys, I forget maybe it was one of my boys' 21st birthdays or something like that. But they're like, "Yo, you've been like living a straight edge. Like you got to come out with us tonight."
Right.
I was like, all right, I'll come out with you guys tonight. So I go out and I'm faded, bro. Like I couldn't see. And I get a call from Reggie and he's like, "Yo, come down to the gym. Coaches want to meet you."
Oh, that's how it always works.
Bro, I'm like, "Yo, Reg, I can't come down to the gym, man." He was like, "You're going to regret this. Come down to the gym right now." And I was like, "Bro, I can't. I can't. Like, if I show up, like, there's no way I'm going to make a worse impression if I go to the gym." I was faded, bro.
Right.
And so I didn't go. And the next day, I remember seeing Reggie, I think it was at a house party, and he was like, "You f***ed up, bro. You f***ed up. Like, we had your jersey at the gym." And
so you didn't even show?
I didn't show.
Bro, is that like one of your great like regrets in life, man? Like,
yes. How could it not be? How could it not be? How would you feel in that moment, Khari?
Right. Nah, bro. I know how I would feel in that moment, man. For sure.
And like now it's gotten to the point now. I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, did that really happen? Because it's 10 years ago and I was faded.
Yeah, right.
There's a part of me now that's like, is this awesome story I've concocted in my brain? But like, no, it had like, I remember every single detail of it, and it's great. And Pete made the team. Pete was he was like a 6'4", like small center type. And I was just like a quick guard. So all that year I see Pete Rehnquist. He's a good player. No knock against him. And maybe we both would have made the team. I don't know. But Pete was on the team all year. And then the next year, Steve Donahue took over for Al Skinner. And this dude, Chris Kowalski, I don't know if you remember him from he's a Dorchester kid, but he was like a big name back in the day. He went to Roxbury Latin, I believe.
Okay.
So he was he played BC baseball, but he was a 5th-year senior. And they brought him onto the team because he had a weddy. So they put him on the team. And then my buddy, John Cahill, whose dad is a college ref, was recruited by Donahue to play at whatever. So one of Donahue's assistants to play like D2 or D3. So they just brought him on. They didn't have open tryouts or anything. And John ended up starting. He was like, I mean, John's a good player, super high IQ, but like not better than me. Like, I don't think he's better than I was, but he was awesome. And like I remember him guarding Kendall Marshall going up against UNC and I mean, like, damn, man, like, in a different world, maybe that's me, man. You know what I'm saying?
So I
regret that.
How did you cope and get through that your senior year?
Not well, man. I I definitely I went all in on the party gig for sure.
Right.
I was just like drinking
Like,
away my
shoot, might as well
sorrows.
get it in now.
Exactly, exactly. And that, yeah, I mean, you drink away the pain, man. That's pretty much what I did.
Right.
I got great grades. I still focused on my studies, and anytime I played against one of the basketball players down at the Plex, or if John Ko or Chris Kowalski came down to the gym, I made sure I gave him the business just
Give
so I
that
could prove
work.
to myself that, like, I could have hooped. But it was tough, man. It was super hard. I remember guarding Biko Paris. So Biko was a point guard during my time there, and he came down to the Plex one time, and I just like he was like, "Yo, you need to chill out, man," because I was like picking him up from court and pickup and stuff like
Right.
that, you know. And it's funny, like I always wonder. I'm like, if I saw Reggie now, would he remember me? Like,
Huh.
would Reggie remember the story? Because like I knew him,
Yeah.
I knew like we like I had his number for a while, um, and he like I'm pretty sure he used to wish me a happy birthday on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? So like
Before he was on the
what,
Thunder.
exactly, exactly. Before he started feuding with Westbrook and KD,
Right.
it's crazy, man. Thinking back on it, but I actually tweeted out today. Um, I was like, "Yo, you ever like been having a productive day and then think back on something like mad awkward that happened to you 10 years ago and then just want to end your life immediately?"
Man, come
Because I
on.
was just
We need
thinking
you
about
here,
the
bro.
pod, man.
We need you here, bro. So it's interesting because I never knew any of that about you. Like I kind of knew because you remember like when you graduated, I was seventh grader. So like, bro, when all that was going down, I was in like ninth grade doing my own thing. Um, and on my own weird basketball journey. But man, so it fills in some of the gaps and it's pretty interesting, bro, because like, I didn't know you as a rapper in high school. Like I feel like that came after. And
For sure.
now hearing you talk, it sounds like there was some like I need to find myself and create my identity, create these alter egos and release through music.
Hmm.
Would you say that's accurate? And could you talk about that process?
Ooh, man. Yeah. So, I mean, yesterday, March 3rd, was the 9 or 10 year anniversary of the Jeremy Lin story that ESPN did on me. I don't know if you know about this, Khari. So when I was 23, I played for this Chinese basketball organization called Boston Hurricanes. Shout out Hurricanes.
Right.
And they pretty much hit them up and they're like, who's the best Chinese basketball player in Boston right now? And they were like, oh, we got a guy. So they like set him up with me. And I had this, it was like right in the heart of Linsanity. And I remember they wrote this big, I was on the front, the homepage of ESPN.com. And
Yeah.
it's just my face and my family. And they're just talking the story. If you want to look, read it, it's called Jeremy Lin Inspires Hoop Dreams by
Right.
Elizabeth Merrill.
Okay.
Right.
Let's
And
go.
it's just like all about me just having graduated college, still having hoop dreams and watching Jeremy Lin do it. Because Jeremy Lin used to come down and play against the Canes. Right. So like I've hooped against Jeremy Lin. And he was way better than I was. I'm not saying that he was way better.
For sure.
But I played against him and he played against all the Canes. So that was kind of the connection there. And if you go back and read that article, I mean, you see, man, I'm lost, completely lost. I don't know what my purpose is. Trying to make meaning out of life. I'm like subbing at Latin school, but I'm also bartending and like filling in bartending. But really, I'm just a bus boy at my buddy's restaurant called Tavolo in Dorchester, and like showing up faded to work, breaking all the wine glasses, eating all the bread. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
and yeah, I mean, it was around that time. My buddy Phil, shout out Phil Keefe, is like one of the most creative dudes that I know. And we were just hanging out all the time because he was also a bus boy, and he's kind of like one of my co-collaborators in a lot of the writing that I do. And he's about to blow up. Like keep an eye out for Phil Keefe. He's gonna be a name to know. Not for music, but for writing and like writing films and stuff. Man, he's gonna make it.
Right.
Believe in you, Phil. And it was around that time where I just started writing a lot. My cousin Steve used to rap. He's from Waltham, and he's a producer and a DJ. And I did a little bit of spoken word in college, not a lot, but I tried it out. I always liked spoken word. The spoken word club at Latin school, I used to go hang out with some of those kids like Christopher Morris King. I don't know if you know Chris Morris King. I think he goes by 5 Star.
Name sounds
Dan,
familiar.
yeah, Dan Smith, who goes by Superliminal. Lewis, what's Lewis's last name? I can't remember Lewis's last name, but he goes by Charmingly Ghetto. So there's like,
Right.
there's definitely a legacy of rappers coming out of Latin school. And I always admired those dudes. Like one of the first CDs I had was Lewis's CD in high school. And, I just remember being inspired by that. And I wasn't a rapper, but I loved rap and I loved poetry and stuff like that. My cousin Stevie, he was like, yo, that poem's pretty dope, man. Like I got this beat. Why don't you try and like rap over it? I was like, how? How do I do that?
Okay.
And he was like, because spoken word is a completely different rhythm.
Right.
There is no meter that you follow. It's like very open-ended. And with rap, I to this day, I still struggle like staying on the meter because I just want to go off into some spoken word shit. And I tried it out and I loved it. So I just started writing a bunch of horrible, worst songs ever made. Worst, don't listen to those early songs, man. They're all privated on SoundCloud right now.
I was gonna say,
I just
are they
fell
on
in love with it,
YouTube?
bro.
Can we search them?
No, man. Oh my God. Those, like, I feel like I'm talking too much right now, but I mean, I remember putting my out online, a couple like cringy videos, man, cringy videos of me like faded in my room. I remember like maybe I didn't even have a shirt on. I don't know, but I'm like freestyling and like rapping over beats and like saying some wild. And I remember my mom and my sister being like, "You good? Like, are you good?" Because I wasn't. It was like pretty obvious when you watch the videos that I was struggling to find who I was. Like,
Right.
especially after that whole BC basketball thing, that really just like broke me. And
Yeah.
I just like you said, I never really thought about it that way, to be honest with you, man. But I'm kind of crystallizing for me. That was definitely the moment where I was like, where else am I going to be able to make my name? Because
Right.
that was my goal, was to make that basketball team my junior year. I didn't make it. And, the ESPN.com thing, when I look back on it, I didn't really want it. I think it was more like for the attention than anything. Like maybe this will light the fire back under me. But it didn't. It didn't. And I ended up moving to Austin. And that's where I
Why
fell in love with
Austin?
making music.
Why Austin?
Shit, man. I mean, did I have a plan back then, Khari? Did it sound like I was a man with a plan?
No, but I mean, bro, you picked Austin. Somehow you got drawn to Austin for a reason. So, like, what was that reason?
No, I got you. So my buddy, my cousin Michael, he's a club promoter out in LA, and he was telling me to come move out to LA. I remember like right before I moved, my cousin Stevie, who's super artistic. My whole family is super artistic, and he was taking some pictures of me so I could like take to LA like headshots and stuff, and like try and make it as like an actor or some model or something. And my best friend Will, who I do Green with Envy with, was moving down to Austin, Texas, because he had just gotten a job working for a studies abroad company called ISA. And he was like, yo, I know you want to move. Like, you just need to get out. Like, you need to start over. I know you do. So why don't you just try out Austin? Just come for the summer.
Word.
A week later, I was in the car driving down to Austin, Texas, trying it out for a summer. And I got down there, bro. I remember the first job, first job that I applied for down there was like at a gas station selling some like cheap, like, oh, this will make your car shine more. Or I don't know, some random.
Like car polish?
I tried it for, yeah, car polish. Yeah, it's the word. So car polish. I tried it for one day. And first of all, it's hot as hell down in Austin, Texas, man. So I went down in July. So I'm like at a gas station. I spent all this money to go to Boston College and get an education. And like I'm a well-educated dude. And I'm like, I'm at a gas station, like selling polish?
Damn,
Like
bro.
that's what's going on right now, man.
Damn.
So I'm like, I can't do this. I was like, I got to at least work somewhere stable. So I started applying like within education systems and stuff like that. I get a job as a tutor at the school that I work at now as an instructional coach. And then I got a job. I was working like 5 hours a week. And then I went up to this community center and I applied. I was like, hey, like wherever you can fit me in. And they started me off pretty much as a janitor. I remember like one of my main jobs, I was sweeping floors. I was like pulling pubes out of shower drains, like the worst stuff, man. Just like humbling myself big
Humble
time.
experience.
Humbling. And then, the more they got to know me, it was pretty quick, like within a week. They were like, oh, like you should probably not have to do this. Like we
Right,
have
right,
we
right,
have an after school
right.
program. Like, why don't you help out with that? So, very quickly I was working in the after school program.
Right, right, right.
But those moments were eye opening. Like, if I hadn't been like, if I hadn't found myself in those moments and been like, yo, you really gotta work through this stuff and figure out who you are. It's gonna be hard, but you got to do it. And music and writing was definitely a way, always has been a way for me to kind of work through some stuff. And then I started going to open mics down here, and I met a ton of people that are just crazy talented. A lot of them have like blown up, like on the
Yeah,
Tonight Show, blown up.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I've just met so many people over the years with music down here, man. I can't leave. In my job, I work as an instructional coach at a charter school, and in the summertime, I can go back home and like visit Boston. So it works out that way.
Yeah.
And it allows me just free time to work on music and do creative stuff that I love.
The music, bro. I want to know about the characters because I remember DNA the G and RNA the Messenger. I was listening to that at high school. And
Yep.
I think you're just going by Maneikis now.
Yeah.
But I just those first couple of characters, bro, like break down what they were and how you came up with them and like, what was the whole vibe?
Man, it's funny. It's funny. So I was your boy, James Burke,
Yeah,
Bizzard. Yeah,
Bizzard.
Berkey. Shout out Berkey. I remember I was subbing at Latin school, and David Hines, Booby Hines, right?
Okay.
So he's always been my homie because he's a Dorchester kid. So I kind of took him under my wing, and man, we're about to go deep, man. I remember James had put out some music, and he got a lot of people were making fun of him. I remember that in high school. Like he got a lot of heat. People were making fun of him for his first mixtape, but it's actually not that bad.
Right.
And I was subbing in one of his classes, and I remember hearing about it, and I was subbing for a biology class, and we were covering nucleic acids. So we were doing DNA and messenger RNA and all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, like I'm bored as hell right now. I don't want to teach this stuff. The kids are working on it. Like, let me just write a rap about nucleic acids.
Right.
So I just sat there and I just wrote like pages and pages of like puns on nucleic acids. And then I was like, oh, like DNA, the human genome. So like the first idea was like DNA, the human genome. And I think there's still a picture of that somewhere, like with that being the first name. DNA the G was DNA the genome.
Right.
My email to this day for some music stuff is booking the genome. So that's how that started. And then the first album that I made, first couple songs I wrote actually were like very angry. Like this dude is trying to find himself, and he's like, because I'm a nice person. But like all human beings, I have dark sides, and these experiences that we're talking about, and I needed a place to just unleash it in a safe way.
Right.
So a lot of the song was just angry and like aggressive. There's misogynistic lyrics in there that I don't believe, but like how it is. Like thoughts cross your mind from time to time, and as a sane person, you either say, okay, that's a healthy thought, or that's an unhealthy thought that comes out into the world for public consumption that does not. You know what I mean? And I was just like, okay.
And when you're creating is different. You're not thinking about doing it. Like you're vibing and creating that.
Exactly. And you don't have to worry about that stuff. So I put that out there almost as like self-criticism of my, of who I was as a person. I didn't like what I was saying, and that was the point. It was like, there's this DNA the G character that I just don't like what he represents. You know what I mean? But then there were a couple songs that I made that clearly had a message behind them. And I was like, damn, this is the type of music that I would like to make. Some like uplifting, inspiring. It can't be under DNA the G. So let's go to RNA. Okay. And then messenger RNA, just flipped it around, RNA the messenger, because the music I was making was more socially conscious and more uplifting in nature. So that's how those two came out. But I still wasn't I still wasn't comfortable enough with what I was saying. I still dealt with imposter syndrome big time, especially in like, don't ask me to freestyle, man. Like I can't freestyle. Like don't ask me to freestyle.
Right.
Like I still deal with that, and I can. Like when I'm not so self-conscious, like I can spit bars for long time.
Nice.
Like when I'm in the car and I'm by myself, like I can freestyle off the dome and do amazing. But like
Right.
the moment you get a cipher, I'm just like, that dude's better than me. 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 I'm just gonna chill and listen. I'm cool with that, you know. But with that imposter syndrome, I never wanted to put my name to what I was doing. You know, I was
Right.
cool hiding behind DNA the G. I was cool hiding behind RNA the messenger. But it was always my goal to be comfortable enough with what I was doing creatively to be like, Maneikis, that's who I am. I don't gotta hide. My mom can be proud of what I'm making. My dad can be proud of what I'm making. They don't have to like sweep this under the rug. They can just be like, this is my son, and he's doing what he loves to do. If you don't like it, then like keep it moving, you know. And when I got to that point, um, it's probably the worst album I've made. But I released an album called American Subconscious 2017, and I made this one music video called American Dreams that blew up. I got to go to like film festivals. We were up for best music video in Austin, Texas. And that's when I was like, okay, I didn't have the album 100% created yet.
Right.
I was like, this could be a Maneikis song. Like if I ever make the change, like this is the type of song that I want to make. And that I just decided in 2017 I was ready. I was ready to become Maneikis. Um, and just did it, man. Sometimes you just gotta jump, you know.
Be like Nike. Just do it.
Exactly.
Do it.
Exactly. Sponsor this shit, Nike. Come on. It's a Khari
Let's
show.
go. Let's go. Let's go. You already know. As I wear Adidas.
Right.
Man, what's about to ask you? So you were telling me that you got some new heat coming. You told me that you got some stuff that you've been working
Yes.
on for a long time that you're waiting to drop. Plug it.
Mm-hmm.
Let the people know what
Yep.
you got. Let the people know what you got.
So first of all, I gotta plug my last music video that I released in October.
Yes, sir.
It's for a single called Concussion. I shot that in Mexico last year, right before the pandemic hit. Crazy. It's a movie. It's a dark satire. So think like Black Mirror meets Blade Runner, probably like that kind of vibe. It's not to be taken seriously whatsoever. I think some people are missing the satire part of it. It's like a purposefully bad song, but in a good way, in my opinion. And it's inspired by the rise and fall of Kanye West. So there are a lot of lyrical allusions to Kanye in there. Like even the main hook is, have you ever had sex with a porn star? Don't you worry about the consequence. Just like going back to his, with the put the in a sarcophagus line. You know what I mean? Have you ever had sex with a pharaoh? So I kind of just flipped that around. I was listening to this one pod called Dissect, and it broke down Kanye's journey. And when I heard that on wax and what Kanye went through, I was like, man, like he was my favorite artist, and I didn't know a lot of the stuff that I learned in that pod. So when I was driving back to Boston, I just had this one instrumental that ended up being Concussion, and I wrote the song and I wrote the music video like in my head as I was driving from Austin to Boston in the summertime.
Right.
And then we made it. We made it happen. I shouldn't have sold my Bitcoin when I did, because I'd be rich if I didn't sell that Bitcoin to make that video.
You were ahead of the curve. You knew about Bitcoin before.
I was ahead of the curve. Yeah, man.
I feel for you. I feel for you.
So I sold my Bitcoin to make the video. Not like crazy amount of money, but you know, enough to make. If you watch the video, you're gonna be like, how much did he spend? Like I had someone be like, yo, did you drop like 250K on this? Like really? It like looks like that legit. So yeah, definitely check out the audience members. Definitely check out Concussion. But I also work with the band down here in Austin called Black Sheep Optimists, and we released our EP last summer in July, I think, called Book One, and we have four or five tracks on there. I think it's five, and we've just been working together. My roommate Dave is our producer, and then there's another vocalist in the band who I actually met on an airplane. We were sitting next to each other because he's from New Jersey, both going back home for the holidays from Austin, and we were both sitting there on the airplane listening to our own music. And then I was like, hey bro, like, what are you listening to? He was like, oh, just something I'm working on. What are you listening to? Oh, just something I'm working on. And we just like switched headphones and we started vibing, and we've been like working together for the past 8 or 9 years. But there's some heat on this. It's like, it's definitely not just hip hop. That's why I like working with the band, because I'm not just a hip hop fan. I love all types of music.
Right.
And it allows, like, Dave's a classically trained violinist. He teaches violin. Like he's one of the most genius dudes I ever met in my life. And it's just like a blend of all these genres, man. Like, I don't even know how to define what we are right now. Maybe that sounds cliche, but
right.
It's cool, man. And it allows me to get a little more spoken wordy, which is what I really like to do. So there's some, we just had a listen session tonight. So we listened back to all the tracks that we're working on and just took notes on some stuff. So I'm fresh off of that, like literally right before I came here. So, I mean, that stuff will probably drop, I would say, in the summertime, if we give it enough time to promote and everything like that.
Let's go. I can't wait. So it's just tell people how to find your stuff. Like, I know you got a YouTube page called Maneikis Music. Are you on Instagram? But just plug your socials and where people can find you.
Yeah, no doubt. So I'm definitely not following like social media 101 where all my is the same handle.
Yeah, you're right.
So
right.
on Twitter, I'm at Mini Minnow, Mininoe. We'll post like a picture of it or something.
Yeah. Sure.
But my older brother was Minnow, so I was Mini Minnow. And you can find me at Maneikis_music. Maneikis is Maneikis. That's my family's name, at Maneikis_music. And then you can just search Maneikis on any Spotify, Apple Music, all my shit on there. And then search Black Sheep Optimists for my band. And Black Sheep Optimist, that's the project. That's the one for sure. Gotcha.
Before we let you go, got to end it on a high note. As a musician, I need to know what's on your iPod. Like, give me if we were to take your iPod and put it on shuffle, right? Or your iPhone now, since we're in 2021, who are the 3 artists that we'd be most likely to run into?
Anderson .Paak.
Okay.
Definitely. Malibu is probably one of my favorite albums, so I listen to that constantly. Probably some unknown stuff for real. Like my boy down here in Austin, I really like his music. He goes by Clifton Dukes. I bump his stuff all the time. Clifton Dukes is dope. Definitely check out Clifton.
Okay.
And then I would probably say, man, like Fleetwood Mac.
Okay.
Maybe a little Fleetwood Mac.
That's different for sure.
Yeah. I like, my girlfriend loves Fleetwood Mac, and I've always liked Fleetwood Mac. It reminds me of music I listened to with my mom. So those would probably be the 3, man, if you just picked up and hit shuffle. And then I would say the 4th one would be Black Star. Okay. Most Def and Talib.
Yeah.
Respiration is one of my favorite songs.
I love it.
Yes, sir.
Well, cool, man. I don't want to keep you forever. I just wanted to catch up with you, chop it up, let you get a chance to tell your story. You have a really deep, interesting story that I bet like 98% of the people who know you don't know.
For real. Yeah.
So
breaking news here.
Breaking news, bro. But I'm glad you could make it. Obviously, we'll have you on again. And thank you for having me on Green with Envy, bro.
Yeah, I can't wait to do the group chat with me, you, Kwani, and Will.
Let's get it. Well, all right, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Good catching up, man. Appreciate you. Thank you so much.